Every one of us are teachable.
Mr. Bernie Dorman.
And we're talking to Bernie Dorman.
Let's give Bernie Dorman a round of applause, if you please. Bernie!
In marketing, and marketing mastery is pretty good. But as you know, and I'm just suggesting, if we drill down on this, we probably do a little rebranding. And the reason is, marketing mastery sounds blah, blah, blah. A little bit emotionally to you. It's another one of those, isn't it? How do you grab it at a higher level, right? And so, if we come out and get it more to the profit side, right? So it's something like, in marketing mastery, we're the subtext, if we're a slogan under it, right? And we called it accelerated profits or accelerated bottom line, marketing mastery, ... We accelerate profits faster than any program in the world today, guaranteed. Now, 5 steps to accelerated bottom line. I think a lot of you would buy that. That would hit you differently. So what we try and do when we explore these branding missions is the first thing is to manufacture that part. Then the second part is to put value equations in the bullet points. Less time, no missed opportunities, new revenue sources established, first quarter results, bottom line changes instantly. You know, it's something that makes it so it's easy, because what we don't want to do, and I know it sounds silly to say this because we committed to do it as entrepreneurs, but we don't want to work. We're so busy doing what we love about our business that we forget that what is the most important part of the business? The skill set of the boss. Is the skill set of the boss where it needs to be? Now, there's a film on my website, which you got to see later. And Bob Proctor just made a special gift from the beginning to now. And it's something that just is up in the last 10 minutes. But you go to CO Space International and look at Bob Proctor's Christmas gift of the history of what we do. And he talks about the change markets. We're changing. So these are crazy times. And we're not going back. It's just going to keep getting worse. The speed of change. And he cites Alvin Toffler, and he said, the future is not those that can learn. It's those that can unlearn, retrain, and relearn. And you have to unlearn as the change happens and get the new opportunities so you don't miss them. It has to be continuous, your boss development. Marketing is the thing you have to continually develop yourself. You can't offload it. You can't get a marketing guy to do it or gal to do it. You have to be enough language with it that you can take the marketing expert and hold them accountable. You have to know enough as the bridle master, steering the bridle of the horses. You don't have to be anything. But you have to know enough to steer the experts so they do what you want. If you aren't trained, they will go off in the grass and you won't get the wagon where you want it. Does that make sense? So I think that this is A, rebrand for the higher buy-in quicker, and then B, bullet point, so we can see that it's easy, convenient, and fast, and it's a continuous development process. And then what I would do is sell it as a silver, gold, platinum package. And the silver would be what she's got. The gold would be double it. And the platinum would be online, updated, new material every month, downloaded by MP3 file. Then she has a subscription basis in her company to build her stock value, so her stock is worth a lot when she wants to resell the company. Does that make sense? All right. And the final point is, if you go online and get with Success in Action, Google search it. They are the largest provider of this kind of material to Office Depot, Office Max, Sam's Club, in the business sections. And just go to them and tell their CEO I sent you by. Okay.
I was raised by Dad, one of 9, San Francisco. People coming over to the house to him as the coach of the coaches were Napoleon Hill, Walt Disney, Earl Nightingale, and a host of others. Most of the people in the mine business, Werner Earhart, Tom Woolite, John Hanley, people that you know in the Human Potential from Mike Murphy up, and just grew up not knowing that who those guys were. If I knew who Walt Disney was, and later, like I'm speaking now because of that at the Napoleon Hill Foundation anniversary. I grew up, became an investment banker, ran a stock brokerage company, had 6,000 brokers, 14 countries, publicly traded, operated all over the world, out of Wall Street and San Francisco. I moved from that, I sold that company, my dad got cancer, took care of him for 3 years, ended up in the training business because that was his business. Met Bob when his hair was red like Dick's still is, and we both got gray hair along the way somehow, and Bob said, why don't you do this thing, because you don't want to do the training your dad's doing with these big companies. And I said, okay, and we really created CEO Space, and the result is that we're now in 140 countries. I'm a grandpa with my own 9 kids, but we're really committed, all of us on this panel, to really make a difference. They're not just saying it, and we really mean it, we live our lives for it. But our captain, Captain Kirk of the Starship, is Bob Proctor. So I never thought that it could be beat. I never thought it could be beat. But this man who has come here all across the world to help you, you don't know his soul. I know his soul. And when you say, how close are you? You don't get closer than when you're having open heart surgery, which he had 2 years ago. And you're going down the gurney, and you're just going into the surgery. And he's typing me, saying, they're opening me up because my chest isn't big enough to have a heart like yours, because you have the biggest heart in the world. And Bernie, I'm going to have a chest that can contain a heart like yours. And you'll see. Something like that. And I love you, Bernie. When Linda grabbed that phone out of his hand. And then he texted me after that I was screwed because he made it. But I want to tell him something.
SEC.gov, and you look for Regulation D, which is your exemption from public standards, 506, which lets you raise over 1 million. And the paperwork that you write has 1 year from your first investor date that you can, in full 12 months, raise any amount you want. If it's 50 servings of stock and it's 20,000 each, a little bit more, I'd go 30, you'd be, 30 would be 1.5 million. And if most people put in more than 30, you'd only be at 20 or so people, and you've got $1.5 million in with only 20 people. It's not too hard to get that done. It really isn't. That's not a big kind of thing. I would raise that much money for a Pizza Hut on a corner. Say, why? What do I need that much money for if I'm in business and I'm raising capital? Well, let's think about the capital we want to raise. I want your salary to be paid, so I shouldn't take money from investors. If you and I were going to hire the president of a company and want him to work for 3 years at 70 hours a week, would we pay him? How do you get him to do it if you didn't? I think a moderate amount of money, when it's no profits, no income. When you make a lot of income, you can pay yourself more, of course, but $10,000 a month for a 70-hour-a-week executive, $7,500 a month, something like that as a range. Is that out of keeping with your thought of fairness? you know, for the president and founder. Now, if they're going to work like dogs for a long time, 2 years of their salary, that's $120,000 or $240,000 in 2 years. So a 2-year budget, you're always thinking of 2 years of budget. 24 months, $250,000 for salary. And did I get to a car payment, a laptop, an office, a staff, or anybody else? No. So you figure you've got at least $150,000 for admin, various expenses, right? If we do branding and marketing, your cost of everything, running your business, operating, all the cost to go 2 years is that. Your cost of marketing and branding is this. And if you don't understand that ratio, your business is going to fail for your investors. Because the cost to get you and you and you and you and you and you and you to know there is a CEO space, or what it does to a point that you would actually come, is a fantastic cost. What does it cost to acquire your customer? And when you don't know, your business is not in control. You have to know exactly what the cost to acquire the customer is. And that takes usually some testing and some marketing over time. Nobody knows when you start. When first money comes in, it's trying to find out what the cost of acquisition is, because when that's perfected, you're unstoppable. You can really know that when you spend this much money, you'll get this much back every time. But it takes some effort to get that down.
Well, I think the name of the thing is pretty good, and you don't hear me say that very often, but I think freehand's not bad for that. I'd like to see a partner advertiser, because that space that she has there is wasted space, and if that's going to go to 100 million boxes, I'd like to see Coca-Cola on it, or some kind of sponsor product that would be on it. So I think she could get advertising revenue on the product. And I think it becomes more valuable when you have icon advertising on the product and it co-ops all the advertising. For instance, if they would do the advertising on the infomercial, then they would have their advertisements on the product that went out. And they get a double ad. They get it on the ad and they get it on the product that goes out. And I don't see why a sponsor ad wouldn't pay for the infomercial. And now freehand starts to really be big. The ads on this are like, it's just the old FedEx ad. It's like, we're drowning in boxes. And I just have boxes coming out of the sky on you and everything, and say, we're all, it's grandmas, it's all sorts of age groups, it's kids, and everybody's having the boxes just come down on it because we love to watch that, And then they're all coming up and say, you won't get me, I've got free handle, I've got free handle, I've got free handle, you're not going to get me. That's the ad. I mean, it's like free handle. The way to pick up boxes for the life of the box, not yours. We guarantee it for the life of the box, not yours, And so then we got our tagline, and we come out with freehand. Final comment, I always get to do my pitch tank wrap-up, right? So my 60-second wrap-up, which I know you've all been waiting for, is when the apple hit Isaac Newton on the head, he saw color. And when Leonardo tried it, the same thing happened. And they began advising the royal courts and the kings and queens of Europe on how to wear color precisely with a new gravity they never knew before. And it changed the world of color, and has for 1,000 years, and they're still using the color wheel of Europe for the royals all over the continent. For the first time, the secrets of the royal color are being brought to you. It's the freshest thing in fashion, and it's the new fast way to make sure your instant ugly disappears forever. But that's me. What do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know.